Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called What Makes a Warrior Great, written by AranyaP.
Pa, what makes a warrior great? Frederick says that it's the length of his sword or how hard he can swing a hammer.
A young boy asks his aging father, rocking in his chair by the fireplace, while he was taking his knife to a poor block of wood in a way far gentler than he would have years ago. The aged man chuckles. Those are good qualities for a warrior, sure. But do you really want to know what makes a warrior great? He asked to the eager nodding of the young boy. Well, we just have to look at what the old man teaches us. Defeating your enemy in front of you is good, yes. But defeating the enemy because you're protecting those you love that's behind you. Now that makes a great warrior. It had been years since he had gotten his father's wisdom, and at the tender age of 16, Cedric found himself at a crossroads of his life. He was a peasant, born into a family of hard-working farmers who had tilled the fertile soil for generations. Cedric's family was his everything. His father, Aldrich, was a retired soldier who had fought many battles in his prime. Though his father had aged, his spirit remained unyielding. Over the years, he instilled in Cedric the virtues of courage, honor, and above all, love for one's family. His father's words echoed in Cedric's mind as he made a life-changing decision to join the village militia. Though he was a lowborn, he decided that it would not stop him from becoming a great warrior. One fateful day, news reached his village that a flaming ball had fallen from the sky, crashing into a nearby forest. The village elders were concerned, suspecting it to be an ill omen, plausibly demonic. Determined to protect his loved ones, Cedric volunteered to investigate the crash site alongside his militant comrades. With his heart racing, Cedric stood amongst his comrades in the darkened forest. The moonlight filtered through the thick canopy, casting eerie shadows on the ground. Anxiety mingled with excitement as the group advanced cautiously towards the crash site. As they reached the clearing, Cedric's breath caught in his throat. There, amidst the wicked wreckage of twisted, jutting spikes and strange metal, stood a figure that seemed to defy description. He was a demon-like person, clad in dark, twisted armor. Its face was lacking features that one would call human. The air crackled with an otherworldly energy as the creature spoke in a guttural language unknown to Cedric. Fear gripped his heart, but Cedric's resolve held firm. Brandishing his spear, he charged towards the creature, stabbing it with all his might. To his horror, the demon-like being remained unfazed, shrugging off the attack as if it were an inconvenience. Panic ensued as the creature retaliated with thunder and lightning. One by one, Cedric's fellow militia members fell, their lives extinguished like candles in a gusty wind. Ulrich was the first to go, the aged militia captain having pushed him aside into the dirt before thunderous roars would rip him apart with invisible force, tearing the old man in half. Cedric's ears were ringing. He could see the many expressions on his fellow comrades: fear, panic, rage, human. Then pain, so much pain, for a brief moment before Timur's face was quite literally blown off of him by such demonic force. In the midst of the carnage, Cedric's mind raced. Thoughts of his family flooded his consciousness. The warm smiles of his mother, the playful laughter of his younger siblings, and the reassuring strength of his father. Their faces fueled his determination to protect them, even at the cost of his own life. He spoke his prayer to Ulmer, calling upon his God to please give him the strength for his soul, for all that he has of himself. Please give him just one moment so that he could protect those he loved. As if his prayers were being answered, he felt strength returning to him. Power, courage, and determination fills his veins, and he lets out a roaring cry that would make a man turn God proud, launching himself at the danger, even as it's cutting down his comrades, and drive his spear right into his face with all his might. The shaft shattered from the force delivered that managed to pierce the demon's faceplate, causing the spear tip to just jut out the back of its head. He dared to feel relief, even for a fleeting moment. Then, a brief, thunderous crack 3 times. Cedric's efforts were in vain. The daemon, despite its mortal injury, does not at all seem bothered by its tale of Mary. He felt such a sharp, burning pain in his abdomen, then cold, so cold. His body succumbed to the wounds afflicted upon him. As darkness claimed his vision, his last thoughts were of his family, a heartfelt plea for their safety lingering on his lips. The valiant young boy turned man met his tragic end that day in the battle against an unknown foe. His sacrifice would forever be etched in the hearts of those who knew him when his remains were later found, a testament to the power of love and the lengths one would go to protect their cherished ones. Also, hyperbolic bards would have you believe. Little did Cedric know, the crash site concealed a secret that would have altered his perception of the demon-like figure that he'd known. For the shattered remnants of the fallen object were a vessel from a distant realm, traveled through the incomprehensible void above his world, and the demon-like person was merely a traveler, clad in advanced power armor, looking and seeking aid. But that knowledge would remain hidden, forever shrouded in the annals of the forgotten, as Cedric's tale became one of sacrifice, love, and the indomitable spirit of a young man who fought not for hatred, but for the love he held for what was behind him. He became what he had wanted to be in the end, a great warrior. Another hero, never to return home. End of story. Story number 2. Exceptions may apply. Written by InBabylonTheyWept. The human ship started the conversation by dumping all of its magazines into a black hole, Kepler 92a. The PDC depleted their reserves within 2 minutes, and the spinal mount took about twice as long. It would have been an impressive display of firepower if the Atali didn't know for a fact that even a direct hit from any of the rounds would fail to punch through their armor. So, instead of worrying, they watched with the kind of morbid fascination that adults get while watching a child have a tantrum in public. They watched the ship light up, cramping ton after ton of tungsten-coated iron into a corpse of a dead star, till at last they ran out of ammo. Then, and only then, did the Atali send a second message over.
"Are you quite finished?"
The response came back immediately. Give me a moment, I'm just finishing a little math problem, but yeah, if that's urgent, I can talk to you. What's up, big man? The Atali barely spent a second passing over the message. They'd seen human bravado before.
"We sent you a request to surrender, acknowledging that none of your weapons are strong enough to pierce our hull. You opened fire on a black hole for about 5 consecutive minutes. Tantrums and sulking do not impress us."
The human ship took a moment to respond. Well, that's a pity. The 2 things I'm best at are tantrums and sulking. The third is juggling, but in 0G, that's, easy. We could host a little talent show here, though, if that would impress you.
"Are you going to discuss your terms of surrender, or are we going to have to kill you?"
There was a longer pause before the ship replied back. You know, a minute or 2 ago, that would have been a very scary threat, but you've got about 10 seconds before shooting us becomes a mutual suicide. We'd strongly discourage that route. The Atali commander actually rolled his eyes.
"It'll take a minute to charge our capacitors. I can promise you it won't be painful. Your bullcrapping is credit to..."
The message was cut off as a swarm of something ripped through the lower quadrant of the ship. The targeting sensors lost their minds. The projectiles were coming from the black hole.
What the feck?
The main thrusters were down, as were the nav lines. He had enough presence of mind to direct the side PDC, using recoil to push out of the line just in time to avoid a brunt of another burst of fire. A standard human ferris slug was caught by LiDAR, but it was moving so close to sea that the instrument error was putting it at superluminal. A second burst of mini rounds blew past the ship. They didn't catch the brunt like they had the first time, but the stragglers in the burst tore through what remained of engineering. Casualty estimates in that quadrant went past 60% as the capacitor banks blew out, shorting out the main power conduit of their weapon system. Without even PDC recoil to steer, they'd have been trapped, forced to take a barrage after barrage of mysterious black hole bullets, if the human ship hadn't taken the time to intervene. It rammed their craft. It was not a combat ram, It was a 15 miles per hour collision that gradually turned up the gas. The little human ship chugged along, nudging the Atali cruiser out of the way, avoiding the next barrage by a mere 500-meter gap. It shouldn't have even been possible for a ship to look smug, but it did. The Atali sent the first message over. Telecom still worked. Life support was running on fumes, but of course, the luxury systems were fine.
What the hell was that?
Gravity-assisted munitions, the human ship replied immediately. The Atali captain had the damnedest sense that they'd typed that in minutes ago and was just waiting to hit the send command. He took a moment to pass that. The bullets weren't being fired into the black hole, they were being fired very, very close to it, enough to slingshot around with stolen momentum. It was a stupid, stupid trick. It was the longest of long shots to pull, and yet it had worked.
What now?
He asked. Well, the human ship replied, it was awful nice of you not to just kill us on sight. I suppose we could return the favor. Feel like surrendering today? There was a long, long pause from the Atali ship as the captain attempted to swallow his pride. The task was not made easier when a few seconds later, another message came in. Chop chop, tantrums and sulkings do not win wars. Exceptions may apply. End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Dragon Soup, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Sans the Skeleton, Light Jock, Dragzoon WRE, and Lord Azrakal. Thank you very much.